Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sweetcast. I've got an extra deep voice right now because I just woke up Saturday morning. A little behind the scenes stuff. Usually, I record videos every night. Yeah, every night I get home, get the kids all to bed, make sure that everything's going well, and then I start recording. And then I end up uh, posting it the next day, usually around lunchtime, and that's just worked for me. So the reason I'm going live this morning is because I wanted to uh, just get more comfortable with doing live streams. And it seems like I've been doing more live streams with guests, and there takes a lot of coordination for that to work. And so I thought, you know what? Let's just have one. So uh, a new disguise. Hey, welcome. Glad you're here. I'm late. Yeah. Yeah, that's another thing too. Then I can just pop up. I don't know. So we'll see how it goes. Uh so a few things I wanted to talk about. I I don't know, like I might post the link and see if I can get some other people to come into. But I've been thinking about some conspiracies. And I'm not really a conspiracy theory guy usually. But they have throughout history happened. Now, in today's day and age, it's too easy. Uh so I don't know. I thought we would sort of reverse engineer the conspiracy of, you know, using Twitter trolls to, I guess, control the culture war. So, what topic are we going to ignore today? Yeah, conspiracies. And I have to say, every once in a while, I will take a little bit of a risk on this channel and do something like a little outside of my wheelhouse. And every time I do that, not every time, most of the time I do that, it doesn't seem to pay off very well. I actually lost subscribers over the little silly meme review I did yesterday. I didn't think it'd be a big deal. I just thought, oh, this will be fun. Yeah. Hey, Midnight Images, welcome. Yeah, so I think I'm done with meme reviews. That's for sure. I'll probably look at memes, but I don't know. People get I guess get used to a certain kind of format from me, and that's what they go with. All right, Twitter trolls. Yes. So Twitter trolls. Let me see if I can share my screen here real quick. I want to look at some stuff. Screen share. Share. Okay, you're seeing infinite screens. Here we go. I'm gonna pull up this one. Hopefully that'll work. Okay, so oh yeah, first I talking about live streams, and then we're gonna get into the conspiracy stuff. So I pulled up Ethan Van Sciver's. This was a video from over a year ago, and it actually just showed up in my recommended. And so I thought, oh, I'll look at it. Oh, I remember he interviewed Mark Wade. That's right, that was a while ago. But when I looked at it, here, I'll play just a little bit for you. Let's maybe get into it just a little bit. Okay, I don't want to play too much, but the thing is, when I started watching this, I realized that um, this was like November last year, 2017 November, and he seems just more timid. I don't like this is not a bad thing at all. This is actually really encouraging to me. Because I feel the same way where I'm just talking to a microphone, and you feel like you're speaking too loud, uh, and so you have to get more comfortable. And then now it's like he's like professional broadcast voice. So yeah, it's just like amazing in a year how things can change. A little over a year, I guess, and not just with Ethan, but even the artist formerly known as Diversity in Comics. Yeah, his channel grew so fast, but I don't know, he just you gain so much of a platform in such a short period of time, And you don't have to be, a professional comic book artist, but you can be. You can be, just a, uh, I think, was he a U.S. Marine, Zach? You can just be a vet that starts a YouTube channel talking about comic books. And if you have, I don't know the certain specific formula, but if you got, you can connect with people and, have a good discussion, then you can have a platform and there's people to talk to. Sorry, I'm just going to check up on what y'all are saying real quick. That's brilliantly silent. No sound. Oh, I'm so sorry. You didn't hear him talk at all. Um, well, I'm not sure why that didn't record, but yeah, I guess for some reason system audio is not working. So I'm learning. But all my point is you can look it up. He's just soft spoken. I guess I already explained that. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. The first time I was on his stream, that's exactly what he said. That he used to be soft spoken and he felt awkward, and I just didn't believe it. But he wasn't awkward. I won't say that, but yeah, there's been a lot of he's more confident, that's for sure. So the reason I bring that up, this is where we get into conspiracies. So there's been so much time that like the media has been able to control the narrative, and now with the internet they can't, or they can only control so much of it. And so I'm hoping that we can sort of reverse engineer a conspiracy, just for fun. It's fun to think about. I was talking with a friend in Comicsgate earlier this week, and yeah, it was really interesting discussion about conspiracies. Now, and more specifically, trolls. I did that video about paying trolls. So let's put this together. So if you look, I'm trying to remember exactly what I googled. Let me go back here. Political action PR firm. Okay. And there's probably other search terms that'll work. This is one that showed up in the organic search. And this is a political action firm for sure. And yeah, Rally is an issue-driven communications firm. So this is not, it's not just random, like grassroots activism. This is a company that specializes in getting political action happening. Now, if you were one of these companies, obviously, of course, you would be wanting to engage with social media. And so one of the theories had been, and I had thought about this before, that big companies like Disney, that's running Marvel, they're paying trolls to troll. The more I thought about that, I feel like I missed an obvious point. I'm going to take it off. I just want to see what you guys are saying. But I missed an obvious point. Yeah, flat earthers. And that is that we're not talking about a corporation that's paying people, because that's so much effort. You'd have to, if you're a political activist, you'd have to get into that corporation, get jobs there. You'd have to, have some kind of position, management position. Yeah, that certainly happens. But how do you get there? So the way that it's done, I think, is it's more of like a pull method. Instead of a top down, it's a bottom up method. So people like this would basically go after a big company like Disney, for example, and they would start writing articles saying, "Hey, you need to be more inclusive. Your product it's so narrow-minded," and things like that. And then this is where the paid trolls come in. So you have two arms of the troll division. One arm is directed toward that corporation. So you've got probably it wouldn't even take a lot. You could have maybe even one paid troll that is on it. And then they've got several sock puppet accounts. Maybe two people. I don't know. It wouldn't take much though. You've got some sock puppet accounts. and then they are raising a stink on Twitter with the company and starting hashtags saying that they want things to change. And it wouldn't take long before you get average Joe people to see, oh, this is happening, and they might just be your standard social justice warriors, and so they're more willing to go along with that narrative. Now, I again, like, conspiracy theories are not something that usually appeals to me, but if you think this through, it's so easy to do. There's literally no consequence. I mean, is there a law? I'm unaware of a law that would break. I don't think so. I'm gonna take it off screen share just for a minute. Uh, there we go. Yeah, I don't think there'd be any law that they'd break if you were found out that you were doing some kind of political activism that way. Uh, Nothing would. There's no downside. There's only upside, and it's so simple and cheap. So would somebody utilize this? I think so, right? Let's see. I'm gonna look at Kitty. Riot Kitty says I was very confused when it said a live stream was happening 15 minutes later than the time listed. Yeah, I have no idea. I just started a live stream right away. So, um, let's see. Durakin says usually the top people are good people. It's the mid management where the problem lies 99% of the time. Yeah, and that's, I think, you can't. It's very difficult to build something, to build a whole company, if you're just a political ideologue. Usually, you got to be very business savvy and you understand how capitalism works, and that's usually your goal. Uh, it seems like activists come in after the fact. So, rather than applying for jobs and trying to like get in a position of power, why not just pretend that there's demand for diverse hire, and enforce that on Twitter? Why wouldn't you do that? It would be so much easier to do, and you could start instantly. So, just a thought. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think I'm going to post this link just to see if I can get some other friends in the chat. But I did want to talk about a hacker. So anonymous. So I guess this is my train of thought here. I'm going to post this link real quick. We'll see if we get anybody. Okay, my train of thought is, if you have a hacker, or like if you have somebody that's being an activist, or a hacktivist, and they're trying to change things, people are imperfect and they're going to make mistakes. And that's most conspiracies that we know of for sure that were conspiracies. Somebody made a mistake, or they made several mistakes, and that's why we know about them. The only one that really comes to mind, I guess, technically Watergate, I guess you could say, was a conspiracy. Also, Vietnam. Oh, I can't remember the Pentagon Papers. Right there was a really well documented conspiracy. Yeah, and it doesn't matter where you stand on the issue. People make mistakes, and these conspiracies get revealed. All right. Aldius on the Farmhouse. Yeah. Hey. Gateway to Comics.
Hey, how's it going, Clint? How are you?
Oh, hey. I won't even read what you said then because you're here.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, we're talking. Well, yeah, I was going to just read your comment, but why don't you?
Yeah, sure.
What you're thinking. Yeah.
So there's so much going on behind the scenes, and I think it's great that you want to bring this kind of thing up, because these guys, they're doing it in public now. And let me actually do a screen share if I could. I'm
Sure.
gonna do that real quick, and then here we go. I'm so new to all of this. Cool. I think that should be working.
Let me check.
My computer takes a second. It's kind of a dinosaur, honestly.
You're good. We'll wait it out.
Yeah.
I
The
don't see anything yet, but
the Triceratops is scrolling. So I'll kind of talk a little bit about this. There's some guys they call themselves, and I'm sure a lot of folks are actually familiar with these individuals. They call themselves the Sleeping Giants, and they've, gosh, for almost a full 2 years now, they've been rallying against Breitbart. And of course, if you know, people don't know who Breitbart is, the Steve Bannon, you know, he was on
mhm.
he had an official position, you know, in the cabinet, in Trump's cabinet. So this is fascinating that these guys they want to do everything that they can to pull advertiser dollars from Breitbart, and they've actually succeeded in pulling almost up to 90% of advertising dollars just by quote unquote publicly shaming these individuals into you know, not advertising with them anymore. And it's terrifying because they're just simply a conservative voice, you know.
Yeah, so even with Patreon, they've mentioned. I went back. I don't. Did you ever see him on the Rubin Report? Jack Conti.
Um, I didn't actually see that. No.
It was a little while ago. I think this was maybe August or something. He had him on, and I watched it after Sargon got kicked off Patreon and all of that nonsense. I went and looked it up again and watched it, having knowing what would happen in the future, and it was interesting because he kept bringing up advertisers. Um,
Yeah.
and I really think that there's something to this. It's not I'm going down the rabbit hole here, but I really don't think it's a top-down approach. I think
Mhm.
it's a bottom-up approach. So if they can make it look like there's enough outrage that advertisers shouldn't be advertising on those platforms, or that a company shouldn't make a certain decision, then they're going to cave just to the public pressure, especially because they keep doing it over and over and over again.
That is
And
absolutely true. Yeah.
so, yeah, anyway, I'm not sure. Like, I don't want to say, oh, I know exactly, who a paid troll is, and who is just, obsessed, because there's
Right.
certainly just people that are politically active and they just obsess.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, people do get very emotional about their political ideologies. So that
Uh,
does make a lot of sense. And you know, it is funny. I, 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 I I'm even more and more every day. I'm coming over to the perspective that it's more and more possible that these guys, you know, SJW, Spider-Man, and of course Renfamous and other people too, uh, are possibly on the payroll, you know, of major companies. And the reason that I say that, and this is why I feel like it's less of a conspiracy theory and more of a very, very extreme possibility,
yeah.
because I mean, look at the numbers, you know, and like I always say, Umbrella Guy is amazing at numbers. You know, check out his stuff, and because he really does pull those numbers out. But I mean, they've lost just in 1 year $6.5 million in their industry, comic books in general, and Comicsgate pulled over $2.5 million. You know, that's pretty big, and that warrants, you know, hey, putting someone on a payroll for just a very small amount of money, it would be effective, because smear campaigns are always effective, and we've seen that just like the Sleeping Giants. I mean, they have successfully put Breitbart in a position now to where they've lost, like I said, 90% of their advertising dollars. And not just that, there's about to be a huge lawsuit over tortious interference. Breitbart is going to sue the Sleeping Giants, and we're finally going to see who is funding this monstrosity.
Mm.
Uh, and that's going to be big for me, because I want to see who these individuals are. It's creepy. It's creepy, and I want to
Yeah.
know who's funding these people. You know,
Yeah, and I don't want to. Well, I'm going to go ahead and say it, but obviously they're powerful political people. May I would not be surprised whatsoever if George Soros is behind it, and I know that's like it almost has become a meme that that's who you go to blame. Maybe not, but they're political action groups that have a lot of money. There's already documented that they'll pay for in-person protesting to happen. That's not a secret.
Yes.
This isn't,
Yes.
it's not a theory. It's well documented. So why wouldn't you do the same thing in an online environment? So to me, it's like, why wouldn't you? If you look at it, step back and look at it, of course you would. It's cost effective. It's just effective, period. So yeah, I mean, of course you would do it. Um, so it got me thinking about this case. Maybe I'll share my screen again here. I just have to apologize. When I share my screen, I can't look at chat because I only have one monitor going. Let's get this up. Did you hear about this guy? This was a while ago, back in 2008. Teenage hacker charged for DDoS attack on Scientology. This guy, teenager, was a member of Anonymous. And I would say in 2008, that was when Anonymous seemed to be more active. I don't know, maybe they are now. I just don't hear much about them. And this kid, I actually watched a documentary about him. He got into Anonymous and was really exercised about, taking down the Church of Scientology. And so he did something. I don't want to read the whole article here on air, but yeah, he did something. He ended up getting convicted because Scientology goes after people pretty hardcore. And yeah, he went to prison for it. So this
Whoa.
is, yeah, this is a case of he was only 18. Yeah, when he pled guilty to felony charges of unauthorized impairment of a protected computer, and he had to pay $37,000 in damages. So yeah, this case, when I looked at it, I watched the documentary. I don't think he was paid. I think this was somebody that got really excited. He was young. He's 18. He was really, just fervent about, he didn't like Scientology. But he ended up breaking the law, and he went to prison because of it.
That's
So
that's crazy.
yeah. So like, I don't want to discount that. I'm gonna stop sharing here. Stop sharing. There we go. I don't want to discount that there are certainly people that are just, for some reason, really passionate and motivated. But there's most certainly people that are paid too, because this kid wasn't spending all day every day obsessing over it. It was like I think it was only like a day or two of whatever. I don't know the exact details, but that was enough to get him arrested because it was illegal. So I don't know. Like, what are your
That is
thoughts?
pretty. That is pretty wild. I can't. I mean, I can't fathom that kind of thing. And it's fascinating. This whole. I got really fired up about Scientology as well after watching that one documentary. Oh, it's the most popular one, and I don't remember the name of it, but it really upset me because they were like capturing kids and keeping them, and they were in sick conditions and
Yeah.
diseased and like it's totally creepy. And again, I don't want to upset anyone if they're in the audience and a Scientologist, but I'm definitely not pro Scientology.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing is with issues like this, I'm not for okay, in the big picture, this kid didn't take down the Church of Scientology.
No,
I don't,
they're a giant, aren't they?
yeah, he didn't take it down. Um, he went to prison for it. I'm not sure in hindsight. I don't want to speak for anybody, but I wonder if it was worth it to him. I don't know. Uh, but at the same time, it doesn't matter because it just shows like people are willing to do things and sacrifice things if they believe in something strongly enough.
That's absolutely true. I remember when I was young. I'm not gonna lie. I was actually kind of close to an SJW when I was younger. I used to keep protest signs in the back of my car. One of the biggest things that I was all about was bringing our troops home because I had so many friends in the military.
Uh,
But I would just go stand on the street, and it's counterproductive. I've changed a lot. My political views always change.
yeah.
Mm, but yeah, you're absolutely right, and that brings us back to that point. It's a possibility that these things, these people, may not be getting paid. Who knows? But at the same time, so much evidence leads to the fact that it's a huge possibility. You know?
Well, and uh, you only need one paid person, I think, maybe a couple, and that's enough to get the other people radicalized. If you're constantly on
Yeah,
Twitter trying to give justification why, you know, someone like Zach is just evil, and you're taking clips and if you're posting stuff like that constantly, uh,
yeah,
then you're gonna get other people that are gonna go along with it and that are just actually following it because they believe in it, and I guess they're buying into it. They're becoming radicalized. I guess that's the way I see, like, it could totally work. Why wouldn't they do it? It would be so easy. It'd be pretty cheap, really.
exactly. Smear campaigns, actually, to be effective, they don't even have to be funded with money. All you have to do is fire up these individuals that are prepared to die for their cause. You know, and those folks are the most instrumental in leading causes like that. Whether they're justified, whether they're good, whether they're bad, and of course, in our case, anti-Comicsgate is definitely weird and unjust, in my opinion. Of course.
Did you hear about when Occupy Wall Street started? Speaking of like 2008, that there was this somebody spread a rumor that Radiohead was coming to, was it Zuccotti Park in New
Mm.
York? And so that's how they got, I guess, a lot of their target audience there. Have you heard about this at all?
No, and I love Radiohead. They're very strange and electro, and I like that kind of music. It's lounge
Right.
electro. It's good. Their newer stuff is my favorite, actually. But no, I'd love to hear more about that, actually.
I didn't prepare for this. I just thought of it, but it would be like Radiohead, Occupy. I'm just gonna Google it here real quick.
Yeah, that is super interesting, and I feel like a lot of things, and the media latches onto these things as well. And when I say the
Right.
media, I put that quote unquote, because I don't. Well, media is media, but they're definitely not media professionals. Most of these hit piece, quote unquote journalism sites.
Right. Yeah. Not actual journalism. So I pulled up a New York Times. This was from September 30th, 2011. Let's see, for a concert that never was a good turnout nonetheless. Yeah. So, and this is the New York Times. So again, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is
Huh.
evidence of a conspiracy.
Yeah,
So it says
yeah.
the frenzy began at 12:18 p.m. on Friday with an email blast from the organizers of the anti-Wall Street demonstrations in Lower Manhattan. Radiohead will play a surprise show for Occupy Wall Street today at 4 in the afternoon. So this was done by the organizers, and this gets overlooked a lot. This is a community organizer. This is what they do. So they spread the word that Radiohead was going to be playing for Occupy Wall Street, which would bring a lot of people. So the article continues. It seems almost conceivable. Radiohead, the British band that has built a career on its distrust of authority, had just played 2 nights in Manhattan. The band's presence would provide star power for the 2-week-old protest movement that had complained of tepid media attention. Okay, so like they'd already been going, but they wanted to add fuel to the fire. So yeah, I think this is really interesting.
That is super interesting. You see things like that happen consistently. In fact, um, what would you call that? False flagging? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a an intentionally false rumor, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's definitely not going to happen. She said it's a false rumor. Uh, yeah, so that was from the spokeswoman from Radiohead, I believe. Yeah, band spokeswoman. We can officially say this is not happening. All the same, the web is going crazy. Perhaps officially was a wink. Fans and the curious filter toward the park. Yeah. So they still got what they wanted, which was media attention and bodies there. So yeah, there were protesters there for sure. But you also just had people that were interested in watching Radiohead, which
Hmm.
yeah. So
And you know those same. Oh, go right ahead.
oh no, I'm good. I was gonna go. You go for it.
So I kind of liken this kind of behavior, and I know it's of course a very extreme different circumstance, but I have to relate this to what's going on with. I mean, within the smear campaigns against just mainstream Republicans, and technically, I'm not a Republican. But that doesn't matter. I'm not a Democrat either.
Sure.
Um, but it doesn't even really matter when it comes down to it. These guys, seriously, I mean, when you when you think about it, can every Republican be a Nazi? That's insane. But it's the
Yeah.
same kind of mentality. If you say a lie for long enough, someone is going to believe it, and maybe that will attract voters and it will attract attention. And I can almost guarantee, in fact, I went to my comic book shop just yesterday. I go constantly. It's right by my work. I actually go to 3 different shops, but one of them is right by one of my jobs. And so I visit a lot. And the girl that I talk to a lot, she loves our conversations, but she hates me. I think uh, just because she knows where I'm coming from. I buy only alternate in my pull list or whatever, but she seems to be a very, very far leftist, and a lot of these folks, they're not bad people,
Yeah.
they're buying into these lies that, like we've said, they're not really conspiracy theories. These people are openly defaming individuals and calling them Nazis. And I'm very far from that. I don't know. It's the same situation, only in this case, it seems to be defamation and in many cases even tortious interference, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Like Mark Wade and of course Zach.
Right. Well, and that I don't know. I guess I have a positive outlook on people, but I think generally, people want to do the right thing. The problem is people like others that are super politically motivated, ideologues, they'll leverage that desire in people to do right, and that's why I think they've had such an easy time, getting Twitter mobs instigated or getting advertisers to pull funding and things like that is because they're playing on people's best intentions really to use those as a weapon.
Yes. Yes, a weaponized philosophy. I don't know.
Yeah. And so I'm like trying to take a look at chat here. You guys have got a good conversation going on. If you got something to add, post it in again, I guess. I haven't been very good at checking out chat.
I just looked at it. Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Yeah, we got 62 people in. That's awesome. Welcome, everyone. Yeah. I was thinking I want to do more of these just impromptu live streams because I want to get better at live streaming. I don't know. Did you didn't see the beginning of my video, and apparently no one could hear it, but I was watching one of Ethan's earlier videos. This was November 2017, and he's so much more soft spoken. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, he's improved a lot. Not that he wasn't good at the time. It's just, he's been working at a lot, and now he's like professional broadcast voice. But the reason I brought that up, well, not only because I want to do more live streams, but also because it seems like people like us in Comicsgate, if you can get a platform, it doesn't even have to be a very big platform. It really worries uh, their plans, I guess. Here, it worries the ideologues. It's insane how much hate someone like diversity, or the artist formerly known as Diversity in Comics, has been getting.
Yeah, that was funny. That was good. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, he started out, he's just making video. It's just his phone, and he's recording, a comic in his lap,
In his
sometimes
car,
in his
I mean,
car. Yeah,
the guy has completely, I mean, he's completely overthrown the industry and brought light to it, where there was nothing but darkness in a very short amount of time by taking phone video captures of his lap. It's awesome.
right. It's wild, and I mean, it worries people so much that I don't know. Like, he was on, I don't even remember the name of that show, the comedy show with, oh gosh, I lose track because they keep making so many of them.
The Australian guy, yeah, Jim
Yeah,
Jeffries.
Jim Jeffries. Yeah, the Jim Jeffries show. Yeah, it's insane that you can get elevated to that level as a punching bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kitty Wright
In
says just
those,
call. Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
Kitty Wright says just call him your boy Zach to pressure him into changing his name. Yeah, that's a good point. I usually call him your boy Zach.
That is a good point. Hey, also, just real quick, plug for Right Kitty. She's doing some neat stuff. She's talking about her writing on her channel. She only has a few videos, but subscribe if you haven't. Really cool stuff. Up and coming YouTuber who's really an ally. So yeah, her stuff is really fun. She's cool.
More another writer of comics, right? That's
correct.
Awesome.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, but back to Zach as well. There's so much going on, and this stuff is it's very nuanced, because you have these guys that are gonna continue to defame him, even though, and I've heard rumors. I came into this very late because I didn't actually have the budget to buy comics until kind of maybe 6 months ago, and I stepped back into it, and that's how I came across Comicsgate. Is I was reading these comics and I was like, this is terrible. This is absolutely horrible, because I was buying X-Men. It's my favorite series. And I was like, why are these people awful? And so I just started Googling it, and I came across some reviews, and I was like, yes, I agree with this person. And it was Zach. And I was like, why is no one else talking about this? Because I looked at, and it's just like your video, these comics, they get like a 7.0 and above, and that's it. It's absolutely insane. So no one will downvote a comic because they all want jobs at Marvel. And so that's not even a conspiracy theory as well. That is absolutely happening in front of our faces. So the fact that, all of these other things that may be seen as conspiracies with paid protesters, that's actually, in my opinion, happening in front of our faces as well. And I guess only time will tell. Maybe it'll take some defamation lawsuits to bring this thing out into the open. Yeah. But I think that's what'll happen with Sleeping Giants. They'll be uncovered who is supporting these crazy people, who is supporting SJW, Spider-Man, who is supporting Renfamous. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. There's they try to do just enough that it's effective but not illegal.
Yeah.
Problem is when they cross that line, and this is why, so when I got into things, Zach, I heard about the lawsuit. I think I've already told this story, but it's been a month ago, so probably everybody listening has never heard this. But when I got into things, I follow Jim Zub on Twitter, and I never got on Twitter before.
Isn't he great? Jim Zub is great. Yeah,
he's been really helpful, even on a personal level. I've emailed him back and forth a few times, and he was helpful to me. But I saw that he was tweeting about Mark Wade's defense fund. I was like, what? Mark Wade? So that's when I got into this, and I'd watched actually some of Zach's videos when he only had a couple hundred subscribers. He was very new. And then I kind of, I don't know, just didn't see much of his stuff for a while. Then I heard about yeah, the whole Mark Wade thing and looked into it. And yeah, I was so disgusted. And I think that's why, and I'm not alone, obviously. That's why he got so much money for that legal for to sue Mark Wade. So I do think it's important because once they cross a line, we've got to use the laws that exist. You know, Twitter rules don't apply anymore once they're breaking
Right.
the law. So yeah, I mean it's upsetting, but I don't know. At the same time, it makes more people come to Comicsgate when we reveal this kind of stuff, this activity that they're doing.
Absolutely. Yes. And I think that's one of the biggest, most important things kind of about just us creating channels and bringing, and I just encourage as much people as possible to kind of talk about these things, to bring light to them. I think it's great that there's so many new voices. In fact, I just saw 3 brand new channels start up. I don't even know some of these names. Midnight Images just started a channel, brand new.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And of course, it's really cool because these things, these things are important. I kind of want to mention one more kind of organization that it makes me sick to my stomach, and that's, I know I've talked about them in my videos before. Southern Poverty Law Center. I
Mm,
feel like they were kind of the beginning of this hate mob, this rallying against, the kind of quote unquote conspiracies we're talking about here. They did it out in the open, and they started defaming individuals. I mean, mainstream politicians that are just simply conservative voices. They started saying, "Well, you're a hate group,"
right.
and that's nuts. And I think that kind of mentality has emboldened people to even go deeper behind the scenes. And who knows how many people the Southern Poverty Law Center are actually paying on social media to defame individuals with just simply differing voices. It's creepy.
There's a lot of political will and a lot of money to control media and what people are hearing, and that's why if you have a platform on the internet, you're just a random person with an opinion. They can't control you unless they can get your channel taken down or they can defame you, I guess. Uh, though that doesn't seem to be working for them very well, but they'll try it anyway. Steve Dye, hell, welcome. So we got Midnight Images, welcome. Apparently with a YouTube channel. Uh, let's see, they want one world technocracy. I like that word, at least on the surface. Yeah, true. Um, and some talking together. Yep. Yeah, this is an issue, and I think so. Privately in a chat, Chase, you were mentioning that we need to learn from some of the experiences of Gamergate, and I know I
Yes.
saw that in the chat earlier. But
Yes.
part of the reason that once I understood what I'd heard of Comicsgate but didn't really look into it, once I looked into it, the reason I jumped in with both feet was because I saw people. I didn't see a hate group. I saw a lot of
Right.
people that cared about comics and that cared about each other. And
Yes.
so, yeah, talking that way and walking the walk, that's a big difference. I don't know. You said it better than I did, I think.
Yeah. So I was kind of, I actually mentioned, I woke up this morning after a long conversation with one of the far left SJWs. She started liking my comments, and she actually followed me on Twitter. I'm not going to throw out her name, but she's a Renfamous groupie, and it got me thinking. I was like, wow, I was actually able to, because I mean, I get emotional. I'm actually an emotional guy, very much so, more than most dudes I know, to be honest with you. And I get emotional, and I'll throw out the F word, and I'll say obnoxious stuff. But I want to stay away from that, to be honest with you, for the most part, when talking to individuals about these issues, because they're serious and they matter to me. And I think conducting ourselves in that manner is what will bring real light to these issues, in the sense that, so much in Gamergate, these guys, they, don't get me wrong. I love trolls for what they are, because I love humor, and I love comedy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what they're going for, but at the same time, I think that the trolling nature kind of delegitimizes a real movement that matters. And that's what Comicsgate is to me. It's important. And because what we're doing is we're just simply bringing light to a broken, tired, and destroyed industry that we want to elevate and bring legitimacy to again.
Right.
And so us conducting ourselves in a calm way is super important. And I think that's what Gamergate was missing. They were missing the voices like you, and I can't say like me, because I am a little I'm a little bit more obnoxious, but I think that is super important. And I urge individuals, everyone watching, everyone who's hearing this, to just be kind to these people as much as possible, even if it's difficult.
Yeah, that's and I haven't always been great with that. That was like, I tried to be semi-professional when I got into this, but I would still fight with people on Twitter. And then like I started thinking about it. I was like, nope, I am gonna conduct myself like a professional. I don't care what they say. I have to say, Comic Girl Ava, welcome. I sent you the link. It's in the DM. So if you want to join, you're welcome to. No pressure.
Yeah,
Though.
we always love to have Comic Girl Ava. Her perspectives are fantastic.
And in fact, you could tell your husband to come too. Whomever.
Awesome.
It's all good. It's really important, I think, is to have like civil voices. And yeah, I love the memes.
Yeah.
I've got to say, for anybody coming in new, I this is not an apology, but I won't do a meme review again. I lost subscribers after I made that video. I just wanted to make a silly video, but it did not go over well.
I thought it was fun. I love PewDiePie, and I know that some people think that he's silly, but man, I watch his videos. It's entertaining, at least. Maybe I'm a 12-year-old little boy, but I do like his stuff.
I actually get sucked into his videos quite often, but I am not as funny as PewDiePie, so I will not be making another meme review. So please come back, subscribers. Yeah. So, yeah, I think having positive experiences too, and that was one of the things I thought with live streams is that you can interact with people that are coming to watch. We've got 80 people roughly listening right now, and they can punch in stuff and we can talk to them. Death and Taxes says Sweetcast is kind of the Johnny Carson of Comicsgate. Wow, that's a high praise.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I actually kind of agree with that. I think that everyone kind of feels that you are the reasonable voice, the voice of reason. So that's cool. That's cool.
Oh, thanks. I don't know. I'm not trying to be anything of Comicsgate, but I don't know. I just want to participate, I guess. So I'm glad it's going over okay, other than the jokes. Yeah, but being able to talk, I think, directly to consumers, whether even just being a YouTube creator, them being able to communicate with them directly, that's so much more than they're getting. Again, when I was looking at the video that EVS did over a year ago, when he seemed a little bit more timid and he wasn't as comfortable doing live streams, he was reading the comments and people were upset that he did that interview with Mark Waid, and he was listening to them and thinking about it. And so that was I don't know, it was eye-opening to me because that's the difference. Because Mark Wade's reaction,
Yeah.
famously, it was not so kind and thoughtful. It
Fix
was
this now, Ethan. Fix this now.
and I didn't remember this, but I was looking there, like Dan Slott was in the chat, and I guess he was chewing out people in the chat, getting so upset. Um, we can do better than that. We are doing better than that, honestly. I think most people in Comicsgate, I've said this time and time again, people have been quite nice. So
Yeah, I really
yeah,
do, and I think that's the future of Comicsgate is us just simply creating a calm dialogue with these people, and I love to say it. Hey, you know, if you do have an over the top presence and you're you know cussing at these pros, they're going to keep throwing out the word harassment campaign, and they're going to keep on lying about what we're actually doing, which is speaking out against well, bad customer service, bad writing, well, bad art too. I'm not really an art critic; I'm a writing critic because I'm a writer. But
sure.
uh, all of those things, I think that to focus on the most important things of Comicsgate are that these books suck. We can do better. And we can even do better in our verbiage when we talk to the pros. You know, just let them know, hey guys, your stuff is really sucking, and that's it. You know, it's not very good, and maybe even tell them why, or not engage at all. You know, if you're gonna just throw some crazy verbiage out there, because again, just like this whole conversation is about, these folks will always bring it back to you're a hate mob, you're a hate campaign, just like all of these, you know, Sleeping Giants, Southern Poverty Law Center, all of these folks, they're learning from what works, and what works is to lie about people, just by taking a very small percentage of what individuals say, bringing it out of context, and then reposting it and saying, "See, Comicsgate is a hate mob," when you know we're just we're just artists, writers, and fans and readers who want better content and want pros to engage on a civil level instead of telling us that they want to put a baseball bat in our teeth, you know.
Yeah. And I've got a comment. I'm sorry, I'm not going to say this. QNTKKA TJM says YouTube is unsubbing people again, so check your followers. Maybe it wasn't my meme review then, but my sub count is going down. Overnight it has gone down. So yeah, please do check. Make sure you're still subscribed.
And I think that individual that you're talking about also mentioned in the chat, he has a channel also, Quintuka to Jim, the last person.
Yeah.
He has a channel as well. So, you know, sub to it. And then I think maybe Durakin has a channel as well. I haven't seen that. So I'm going to have to check it out as soon as I get off this stream.
Durakin's another writer. I know that. He says I'll be streaming coloring pages. So
yes, and I've seen. So he has a Discord that he uses. I don't know if it's kind of secret, but it's really cool. I'd love to see more of his content. And he has good advice on writing. So y'all follow Durakin as well. There's so many new voices. It's really awesome.
Yeah. So if we're going to reverse engineer a conspiracy, this is I guess the next step in the plot. This is what I've been thinking about. So if we decided that we want to be civil as Comicsgate, we're going to engage with social justice warriors in a civil way, even when we have every right not to.
Yeah.
Then what do? Does that take the steam out of their tactics?
Yes. Yes. It delegitimizes them for us to be kind. Yes.
So then what next then? Let's say that you're paid to do this. And your tactic of getting people riled up on Twitter and defaming people doesn't seem to be working. then what do you move to?
Yeah, I know.
I don't know the answer to that, but
yeah,
part of me almost thinks like, man, I keep going back and forth. Like, is it good that there's some, for example, like war campaign? Everyone loves to hate war campaign,
right?
but is that almost a net good because there's somebody to hate, I guess, if that makes sense. I know that Zach seems to be tired of being the
Mm.
one that everyone seems to hate. Though I would, obviously we all love Zach. I don't know anybody in Comicsgate that's if I put his name in a video title, I guarantee you it's going to be my best video. It does so well, and everybody seems to love Zach.
You know why? I think because he's very positive about his own life, and he's very positive about talking to his fans, and his dialogue with us is always just good. You know,
Right.
and sure, he creates that criticism, and I know that he has a little bit of a passive, trolling these guys. And he's changed his tune as well, because we all kind of, I think we all kind of agree that, you know, uh, we want to delegitimize these crazy people that are
Yeah.
trying to defame us,
Yeah, giving them something to point to. And they always talk about like the dark roast, or things that your boy Zach said.
Yeah. The
The,
C
the
word.
the thing is here though, like I think there's always room for redemption and growth. I was even thinking of, I think Comic Girl Ava is still in the chat. Uh, when she first came onto the scene, she was giving it to people and taking it, and she took the little break, and she said that she wanted to sort of readjust and not be so uh, I guess aggressive. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but essentially in a nutshell, that's what she said. And to me, that's awesome, and you should have the right to do that. Nobody's going to say everything perfect 100% of the time. And
For sure.
speaking of Ava, welcome.
Fantastic.
Hi. Good morning. I just woke up and then I saw you had a live stream. So pardon me if I'm a little mellow sounding for a
Oh
bit.
no, you're good. Yeah, my voice is like half an octave lower.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but let's do a Saturday morning live stream. And it's actually so far is working pretty good. Actually, we had like up above 80 people in the chat that are watching. So that's awesome. So
Sweet.
Ava, we were actually just, I don't know, did you hear me talking about you?
No, I didn't hear that.
Okay, I was saying that like we were saying Zach had been a little bit more aggressive, I guess, with trolling people. He has dialed it back, I think, a lot. And I mentioned you as an example when you first got on the scene. You had said something to me, and I did an interview with you that you decided to take a step back from Twitter, and you realized that you didn't want to be maybe so like aggressive or so like in turmoil at all times. I don't know. You'll probably word it better than I did.
Oh no, you were better. Especially now. Since I just woke up, I think you are gonna word things a lot better.
I'm fueled on caffeine already, so
I haven't got there yet. I'm still in bed. I just saw that the live stream happened, so I'll get out of bed and have coffee in a little bit, but no, it's not there yet.
Yeah, it's all good.
So yeah, I mean, Zach he was going very hard in it, and then he decided to go and mellow it out a little bit, and seeing that, and just how, especially a lot of different live streams have been, and just how crazy it has all gotten on Twitter. I reflected on it, and I'm coming to the terms of, I don't like being yelled at. I'm not going to respond well to that. So why would I be doing that same kind of, I guess, I don't know if I want to use tactic, but same kind of way to them, It's not going to spread a message very well. Instead, they're just going to avoid it and just toss it out the window.
Right. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And that for me, okay, when I got into this, I like full disclosure, because I've been trying to break into comics for years. I was like, whoa, this is my chance to break into comics. I don't have to hide any political opinions or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm working on a comic. It's no surprise. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm also really enjoying being able to be open and honest and have an opinion. But when I got into it, I thought, there might be a time if I'm publishing a book, people are going to know who I am. So I wanted to conduct myself exactly how I do in person. Still have had to course correct things though, because
Yeah.
it's so hard on
I have
Twitter,
two.
especially.
I have two. I've had to course correct, and I've been writing short stories for so long. I've had a few published that here's course correcting is a big deal, and I'm glad that I decided to calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I do want to point this out. I do believe that the war campaign is legitimized for this reason specifically. They're doing something. They're weeding out individuals who will, under any circumstances, stab people in the back. And don't get me wrong, I do feel like there's a little bit of what's that word when you accidentally kill civilians in war?
Friendly fire.
Friendly fire, yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, there's some of that happening, unfortunately. But at the same time, these guys have outed. I'm not going to throw out names, but people who are actively, trying to smear the entire movement and what's important about it. And I think that I'm all for the war campaign. To be honest with you, I won't necessarily participate constantly, but they have my support. That's the bottom line. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have any. I've only had positive experiences with them personally. So yeah, I don't have anything bad to say. But I don't think this is the thing. If you associate with somebody that did something, this was the game. Once I got in, I was doing the Twitter thing. This is the game that the social justice warriors play. Is they try to associate, well, so and so said this, do you stand by that? The truth is, I don't have to stand by something. I mean, in my private life, I've got friends and family that say all sorts of things that they have every right to say.
Not you saying that,
Yeah.
It's like their words all of a sudden they're your words. They're
Right.
not.
Exactly. So again, like, I'm not gonna disavow unless somebody has done something that is just incredibly abhorrent. I mean, I don't know. I don't see the need to worry about what other people are saying. I'm gonna worry about what I say.
Right. Yeah.
And you're only responsible for your own actions, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the SJW mentality is oh, hey, let's hold this person responsible for what a different person said 2 years ago on another platform.
Right.
Right. They just grasp for straws. They grab anywhere they can.
Exactly.
Right.
Anything to make a ripple.
Exactly. I don't know. It gets old for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think there's so many like there are a lot of like kind and like calm voices too. Did you see Gail Simone? She
I unfortunately engaged her for way too long, but it was kind. It was actually kind. I called her sport. I like using those words,
I like that word.
like hey sport, hey coach,
Chief.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She called me Sparky. I'm like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I think you chose the better ones though.
Yeah.
So funny. I saw your first response to her, and actually I thought like, hey, way to take the high road. That was good. I responded to her as well. I don't think she really got where I was coming from, but I just do the one comment. That was my New Year's resolution. I'll do one comment and then I'm done. I'm not engaging anymore.
I got sucked in last night because I had a little bit of wine, and actually, it actually worked out all right. And I feel like like I was saying earlier, I even someone from the anti side started following me on Twitter because of my reasonable responses, which it leads us to, this conversation, which is great that we're having about being more reasonable.
Right.
I don't know. It's good to be kind,
Right.
online. I don't know.
Yeah, and it goes against. I mean, her whole tweet was that she just blocked the last remaining 8 Comicsgaters, and then you had it was so funny. It just droves of people saying, "Well, what about me? Block me too," But the thing was that, like, I saw Chase, I saw your response, and I was like, "Well, doesn't that break the narrative right there?" A kind, like, professional sounding response.
Does she have a list of every Comicsgate person she thinks? Like, and then, okay, I've got 8 left. Let me put a tally mark. Okay, I got that one.
Which is fascinating because if you go on IndieCron, there's like, what, 35 books? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, there's more actual artists and writers in Comicsgate than 8, clearly, So, I mean, she's just being ridiculous, of course.
Yeah, and then to call, like, she retweeted later and said that they were sock puppet accounts. This is no. If they were sock puppet accounts, how are all of these? How did Zach's the GoFundMe page? How did that get over $100,000? How did all of these? How much was it? $3 million? Is that what we said for Comicsgate books? That's not. These aren't sock puppet accounts. You can't fake money
that much.
Right. Yeah, that there's most certainly something else going on.
Yeah.
And of course, we know that.
Of course.
And I mean, of course, your whole original thing coming down to this is, of course, quote unquote conspiracy theories, happening here in comics, happening in the world at large as well. Against differing voices. And here's what's fascinating. They're not even all conservative. Because if you look at one of my very favorite YouTubers, his name is Tim Pool. And the guy's a liberal. The guy is very liberal, in fact, anti-authoritarian liberal. So not SJW liberal. You know what I mean? There's a big difference there, of course.
SJWs and actually, are own kind of crazy.
Correct. Yeah. And so he was actually I can't say deplatformed, but he was actually he left Patreon because of this whole Sargon thing, and he went to Subscribestar, and immediately they did the same thing to him that they did to Sargon of Akkad, and that was PayPal froze their accounts immediately as soon as they got on that Subscribestar, and it took weeks for them to actually start paying Tim Pool out. And Sargon of Akkad is actually getting payouts as well. And regardless of what you think about Sargon, I think he's a whiny little weirdo, but it is what it is. I may not be a fan of Sargon's, but at the same time, he was deplatformed. And it's not a conspiracy in that sense. It's happening right in front of our eyes, and the same thing I think is happening in comics, but it's under the scenes. And again, I really think that these things will come to light with the lawsuits that are inevitable to happen. And I praise Zach for doing so. He's championing this movement into a positive direction. It's wonderful.
Have you guys heard much about that?
About which?
About Zach with Wade.
I haven't heard much more about the lawsuit recently.
I was just wondering about Mark Wade actually yesterday, and I went to his Twitter, and he's still radio silent. Which, from his perspective, I'm sure that's the best course of action. When he came out for that the Nerdist interview, I don't think that ended up being positive for him. So yeah, he's been really quiet. Zach hasn't. I mean, he's not really talking about it either. So
yeah.
I have a feeling it's going to be really drug out. This is going to take a long time.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. That's how a lot of things happen with law, especially in this kind of case. Yeah.
Zayd set that precedent, I believe, as well when he basically said he put in that, I don't even know what it's called, but he basically said this isn't Texas jurisdiction. You have to come to California. We immediately knew. We were like, oh, okay, this is going to take years, maybe. It's crazy.
That's what they do. They try to drag it out as far as they can. So then you're like, okay, fine, screw it. And, they try to go and just make it painful like extremely painful.
And
Yeah.
people forget about it. They're just like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, of course, us, we'll never forget. We are. This is our thing. We're in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. I'm going to say this wrong. Sadger, I'm thinking, said, I just wanted to say that my love and passion for comics has been restored. Comicsgate has made me want to get back into art and get back into making my comics. I just wanted to say thank you all. Yeah, so this is a great point too, is I've actually heard similar sentiments from a lot of people that you know, they've heard about Comicsgate. They used to be comics readers and stopped, probably for, I suspect, a lot of the same reasons that you know, we're upset with the comic book industry. But they're getting back into it because there's an alternative. There's passion around creating good comics. So yeah, I love hearing that.
That is fantastic. That's the biggest inspiration to me to continue just simply talking about this stuff, creating content and writing every day. I think about it like this. My biggest passion has always been, so I'm a martial arts instructor, or I have been in the past. I'm not in a school right now, but I mostly taught kids classes. And my biggest thing has always been, hey, you know, if I can inspire people, I mean, in martial arts case, it was always kids, because that's who I have taught through most of my life. But if I can inspire people to do better, to create, to better their lives, it emotionally fulfills me. So of course it's all selfish. I take an Ayn Rand perspective of selfishness actually being virtuous if it's a good thing in general. But yeah, I'd have to say that my inspiration is hoping to inspire other people to continue writing, to continue their passions, to get into it more, to read comics. You know, as far as Comicsgate goes, that's it. If I can inspire people, then I'm inspired, and it feeds me and it makes me feel good. You know,
It's showing them that there's opportunities out there for them.
exactly.
Yeah, I love that. And that's actually a really good segue. I've got to show you this. So my artist just emailed me.
Oh,
and
awesome.
I was listening.
Dude, he's good. I'm loving the stuff you're posting. I'm excited.
Yeah, so all of this has just been very rough, like character designs and things like that. So I've heard some people like, well, it looks so sketchy. Yes, these are just sketches.
Right.
So I have some bad guys in the story. They belong to this cult. Sound familiar? And they worship the sun, I guess. They worship the goddess of the stratosphere, and they're kind of the antagonists in the story. So he did a character design for them, and I'm going to share the screen here just so you can all be the first to see it, because I think this is pretty neat. Share. Let's see. You see that?
Nice.
Oh, that's legit.
Yeah. So again, super. It's just sketchy. He's figuring things out. These are the cultists. He just sent it to me. I have not read his email, but I'm like, okay, all right, that's pretty sweet. It's almost like a KKK mask meets
Yeah.
something else. I don't know, but yeah, pretty good for I think the bad guys. So I've got to talk to him a little bit later. But yeah, that's exciting, and this is honestly the kind of opportunity that doesn't come. Like I used to submit to Image Comics a lot, try to get into Image, get them to publish me because I liked that they had creator owned publishing. But it just seemed like there's no way because of my zip code, because I don't know the right people. I'm not in the inn. So yeah, I just don't think it was possible. But now with Comicsgate, we don't need those kinds of gatekeepers. It's the market that's going to be the gatekeeper.
Yes, the market will free itself always, no matter what. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just looking at chat here again. KKK plus Rising Sun. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Everyday Aliens. Ava, that's your husband, right?
That is.
Looks cool, Clint, he says. Welcome. Yeah. So yeah, things have changed a lot, and I think for the better. And I am really excited. Actually, it's sad to see sales numbers going down in the industry, but at the same time, I think at some point, Marvel and DC have got to admit that things are going south. They haven't really done that yet, but things are going to change because they have to change. So I think if indie comics are in a position to take over, then we're all the better for it.
I really feel
Absolutely.
like we will actually be that replacement when it does happen. And, of course, Zach says, hey, it's going to happen this year. It may be next year, but it's going to be within 2 years anyway, where they start
Yeah.
having to license out all of their characters to other people just to pay their bills. And, it is sad, mostly because, the Marvel characters, specifically the X-Men characters, are dear to my heart. I know I'm an emotional dude. Like I said, I've cried over these comics. I know it's weird maybe, but I have literally, it is sad to me to see the death of these characters. And so, yeah, at some point, we will definitely we'll definitely be in a position to fulfill that void, because it's inevitable at this point, I believe.
Yeah. Time Code Mechanics is in the house. How are you doing?
Hey, what's happening?
Morning.
We decided on, let's do like a little, I thought I'll just do an impromptu Saturday morning live stream. I don't know how much longer we're going to go, but yeah, I think this is fun. I think I want to do this more often, this kind of thing.
Yeah, I always end up popping up in these things late. it's like they're like the live stream's getting ready to end, and I'm like, hey everybody, I'm here.
It's all good. Luckily, it's not like, hey, we have to end at this time, but I just thought, well, we'll see how it goes. I was even thinking if I just go for half an hour, we're good. But it's been actually really good conversation. I'm going to read this chat. Scott in the chat says, between the tight-knit nature of Comicsgate and some improving business models of Alterna and Indicron, I think we've got some market advantages. Yeah, the thing is, if we're improving in sales, and I think Chase, you touched on this, and Marvel is just losing so much sales, the trend growth matters. The other thing is if Marvel they're licensing Spider-Man to IDW, who's in their own world of hurt,
Yeah.
financially. I'm like, wow, what does that say?
That's a dark world, isn't it?
Right. IDW's they're doing worse than Marvel is. So this is crazy.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to keep happening, to be honest with you. That's only the beginning of these licenses going out to other individuals. Someone's going to have to fill that void, and at some point, this is what I would love for all Caps Comics or whatever publishing company comes out of all of this Comicsgate stuff, for us to be the ones that they license to. Because guess what? I would absolutely crap myself to be able to write my favorite characters like Wolverine. That is
That's like the dream for me, is like having it within Comicsgate, be able to
absolutely
take it over
for
make
us
it
to
awesome.
for us to gain that licensing. And I think that, just like we were talking about all of these things, the two things that are standing in our way from that specific event, which I think, it's my passion, oh God, to write Wolverine. But the two things holding us back from that are, of course, the insane, unkind, very mean trolling, and then of course the hit pieces that come out that call us a hate mob. Those two things, if we could overcome those, I feel like this is really has the potential of being a mainstream movement, and us being the inheritors of these amazing characters. And of course, I don't need that. I love creating my own characters. My most recent comic that I'm writing, Adam, I love that character more than anything that I've ever read, to be honest with you. And I know that's kind of what's the word? Obnoxious, maybe. I love my own characters more than others, but yeah, I think we're taking a positive direction, guys.
You got to fall in love with your characters if you're gonna put that much work and effort into them. I think that's Mr. Badger. Now I know I'm saying it right. He says, "LOL, it's Mr. Badger." Silly fancy text. Let's see. Man, that's looking awesome. I'm excited for your comic. He's talking about I think the cultist, and I don't have a super chat, everyone. I apologize. If you want to me to read something, just at Sweetcast me in the chat, and that'll help. Anagram says the sketch you posted on Twitter is looking good. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm excited for like a finished piece to show everyone so you can get a better idea. I want to do a little portfolio review, I guess, of my artist. I just want to make sure we've got just some like business details to work out. But I want once we're all good and set, I want to go through his portfolio and show you all why I chose him as an artist. He's got some fantastic stuff, especially his storytelling, visual storytelling, which is key, is fantastic. So I'm excited. Man, lots of chats. Scott says, Sweetcast writing to classic characters would be nice, but we need at least 2 years of solid character arcs to set straight all that's been done to the 616 University by SJW crowd. Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot. That would be a huge undertaking. But it would certainly be nice, right? Could you imagine Marvel selling off their intellectual property, which they've done before as far as movie rights go?
Yeah, they have done it before, and maybe we'll get that chance soon. Get people to write it better than what it's out there and have more consistency, because there's like no continuity. Everything just jumps all over the place, and it's their own stories. It's like they're total separate. And I like continuity.
I think continuity is over with as far as Marvel is concerned. I don't think that's a concern with Disney. I think Disney has this thing where it's, hey, okay, this is what we have. We have the IPs. That's all we need. We don't care what goes on with this, because this is, and I'll say this much. Even myself, the way I do my books and things, the IP is the big deal. So the IP is the big deal. But for Disney, I don't really think they care about the comics at all. I think it becomes this whole thing where it's just like, okay, money, and whatever happens with those comics, let it happen. We're not trying to worry about that right now. If it's bringing in some money, that's fine. The whole reason they're licensing these characters out is because, okay, well, that's bringing in more money. Let's get that money. And that's Disney's thing, is the money. They are not concerned with these characters aside from the whole, aside from the IP. I mean, look what they're doing with Star Wars. And I'm not even a huge Star Wars fan like that, but I know the stuff that they're doing with Star Wars is intentional, and it's being done to kind of reshape that franchise and say things that mean something here mean nothing anymore. We're trying to bring in a new audience that's already stated they're not that interested. And how have they stated that? They've stated it with their dollars. Just end of story. They stated it with their money. They're not buying. And again, going back to just everything happening with the comic books, people aren't buying because they don't want it. And I have friends who are kind of, they're leaning far left, and they don't buy stuff. They have a lot of opinions about it, but they do not buy. And even when things are going the way they say they want it, even they have to admit, I don't like this because the stories aren't good. So you get diversity, but lack of story. It doesn't have to be like that. That's literally a choice that's being made.
Yeah. We've got just entered. Luke has entered from Indicron. Welcome.
From Indicron.
Fantastic to see you. This is the first time I've chatted with you. It's good to make your acquaintance, sir. I love your accent. It's fantastic. I know that's cheesy.
No, that's all right. You know, one must speak. It's use one's voice.
And you were lucky, I guess, with that. That's your voice box.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my voice box. I mean, I try to change it. You know, I've moved to America, and I try to use American vernacular. It's a little
Overrated.
difficult.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's a little overrated.
It's
It makes my throat hurt.
I don't think it's not worth it either.
Nah.
Yeah, well, some people are uncomfortable, you know, with me around, but others are thankfully all right with it. So I figured, well, I might as well, you know, keep being me.
It usually seems like, you know, if you've got an English accent in America, or any accent for that matter, they'll give you your own TV show. So I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet.
I'm waiting for that. I mean, so far they've given me a brand new Lexus, which I'm really enjoying.
Oh, nice.
And you know, yeah, and a nice palatial estate. But aside from that, mostly they just call me an elitist bastard,
Aw.
Only
which
because
is all right.
yeah, they don't know you.
That's right. They don't know me, not like you do, sweet cost.
No.
At
Yeah,
least.
no, always a pleasure to have you on. I've got it. We're not going to be on a lot, but I'm curious, what's the down low with Indicron?
Well, I mean, I thought I should jump in here and say a few things. You know, obviously, it's very interesting what's going on in the industry, and I think it's very interesting what Indicron is trying to do, what we're attempting to do by going full CG. And some people, they don't like that idea, but really what it does is it helps bring a focus, you know, to Comicsgate in a very, I think, in a very positive way, and helping to single out CG and CG books in the industry so that we can become a more prolific, that we can put out books, you know, that are associated with CG, and on the front of the industry itself, push back and take a part of the market share that we deserve, that we need, I believe.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, so this is one thing I've worried about a little bit is crowdfunding, or not just crowdfunding, but specifically Indiegogo or Kickstarter, those being like the method. Because I mean, we talked a little bit about Patreon and other platforms. So I think the fact that we're like Indicron's being proactive and building something, it's going to, yeah, just prepare us for the future. So I think that's good.
Yeah, we need to build something in order to survive. If we don't, then there's going to be a constant threat on our backs, you know. And what happens is eventually the SJWs will cut us off from our sources of income. Do we want that? I mean, I don't want that. So
Yeah.
we need power. We need power in this situation. So Indicron, you know, is in talks with Indiegogo, and we're attempting to get more help in promotion. And obviously they see Indiegogo as a source of revenue, as well they should, considering last year's numbers. So why should we give that up by becoming, you know, by allowing ourselves to be diluted? Do you see what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you guys, you're doing great things. Is it the 25th, right? That's when we're going to see a wave of those changes.
Yeah, of those changes. And, you know, I feel in my heart, you know, that we've always been CG. I see no reason why this is even viewed as a change. We're CG. We were CG before. We're CG now.
Mm-hmm.
Will we be CG later? I feel CG. How does everyone else here feel?
Yep.
Feel it.
Yeah, unapologetically.
Unapologetically. I'm sorry?
For life. I am Comicsgate
For
for life.
life. That's right, mate.
I have actually my name for my channel and my real name in real life. I'm actually going to change it to Gateway into Comics with the tagline, and I'm going to say, so that's my first name is Gateway into Comics, and then my last name is going to be You Are the Gateway into Comics, because each individual that's what Comicsgate is about.
Long
Each
name.
individual being responsible for their,
I don't know. There's
for their own.
boxes when you get something, you know, and
It's
have
a
to
lot.
write down your name.
It's a long
There's no
name.
boxes.
It
It's
is.
I think you should make an entire paragraph at this point.
That's right.
But the point I'm making is we're CG, right? Are we proudly CG, or are we hidden CG? Are we hiding and pretending that we're CG, but we can't say the word CG? Are we allowed to say the word CG?
No, there's nothing to hide.
It's not a
I
bad
actually-
word.
I
Is it a
list my
bad word?
books as
There's
No.
I list my books as Comicsgate. If you go on eBay and like search Comicsgate, like you'll see my books there. I put that in the listing.
Right.
It's-
So it's a
it's-
good word, right? It's a good
It
word
is.
because it's a word that brings us. It's a an acronym or a word that brings us together, right? And we know who to support, we know what we want to buy, and we know who we want to associate with. Okay. I don't want to dilute that. Does anyone here need that diluted to be comfortable?
right.
Does anyone? I don't.
No.
I do actually see another side of this. While I do agree with you 100%, I do see the other perspective, and that is, and we were touching on this. We were talking about how a lot of these hateful individuals that actually are saying really messed up stuff. They associate themselves with our movement, but they're really not a part of us in the sense that they're trolls. And we don't even know who these people are. And so we were talking about how important it is to be kind in all of our responses, with pros specifically, because they're going to keep. And I think that people's perspective of, when it comes to associating with Comicsgate, they're scared because the mainstream media, of course, is doing all of these hit pieces. And of course, we started talking about conspiracies. It is a conspiracy in a sense that these people are trying to defame us. And so it falls on us to be better as the professionals, as the people making these books,
Right. But I'm sure you've noticed that there are attempts to defame us, empower us to a great degree when it's used, and it creates solidarity, right? So
Yes.
that's why we have to push our numbers up so that we become something greater than our opposition, and them empowering us and us, holding on to who and what we are and using that, to be empowered and to move into the industry. I mean, isn't that what's all about? If we don't have CG, then what are we going to be? We're just going to be indie. Then we're just indie. So indie is dispersed across the entire internet, right? And look how well they've done for decades.
Right.
Yeah. We've got, let's see, Scott in the chat said our work will speak for us and legitimize Comicsgate in the light of the rest of the industry. I do think that's true. The more books we're putting out, more great books, the better. I wanted to highlight this one. He says, I live in a blue state. My fear is that I'll be tracked down. Yeah, and this is a part of the tactic that there are going to be consequences because you disagree with somebody's politics, or you disagree with the direction that things are going in. And I understand that this was a tough decision, but that's why I'm like, I'm not worried. I actually don't have anything that I'm not too worried about people doing something in real life. I'll say, but there are definitely people out there that have a more fragile situation. So it's really sad that that's used as a weapon. It's like a chilling factor. But I think the more that we're,
that's the point I want to interject here, if you
please do. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Is the reality that why Indicron jettisoned the so-called adjacent is to create an environment that you go to buy a book and you can trust who you are buying from. If someone has a problem or an issue with the term adjacent, even though it still says CG adjacent, so the SJWs don't look at that and go, oh, well, you're just adjacent to the CG that I want to murder. So it's perfectly fine. I'll let you live and I'll just kill all these people that are adjacent to your adjacent. That makes no sense whatsoever.
No. Yeah.
To me.
It's guilt by it's the same game they play, guilt by association. So I don't know, like I'm not ashamed of Comicsgate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if someone wants to come onto Indicron, I'm sorry, if someone wants to come into Indicron, right, but they want to be adjacent, so they can't, fully really align themselves with Indicron, but they can align themselves with taking money from the consumers of Indicron. They can align themselves with being promoted by the creators of CG and etc. But they can't say they're CG. I mean, there's a little bit of a hypocrisy there, isn't there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I agree.
I do agree with that from the perspective of like just someone wanting to ride the fence. I do see a lot of individuals having a hard time with finding an artist that is willing to say, "Hey, I'm Comicsgate." But if a writer's Comicsgate and their artists aren't, or their creative team isn't, then that's tough. But again, I respect your decision 100% as far as keeping all of it Comicsgate. I really do. And I do see how people could have an issue with that just because of their creative team. But once again, just take the time and find someone who's willing to have that pride that we have in the Comicsgate name, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not that we're totally closed off to, and entire teams need to be CG. It's mostly the fact that, and we have to talk to, projects that are doing this. It's mostly the fact that, okay, who's in control of the information?
Yeah.
Right.
You can hire an artist and they're living in, Saigon, or they're living in Venezuela or whatever, if they're still alive in Venezuela at this point. And that's your artist, and you're writing a book, and it's the artist, the publisher, whoever has the creative control and the control over the project themselves. That's the person we're really interested in. I mean, we're not looking to control every individual. This is just ridiculous, and it's beyond anyone's even possibility to endeavor to do so. But the reality is that we need to protect our consumers, so that we need to put some measure. Nothing's 100% in life, is it? But we need to put some measure into it, so that at least we know that we're acting out of fortitude and not out of weakness.
Well, and any organization is going to have like shared values, right? That's what they that's what Marvel is always droning on about, are their values as well. I'm just screen sharing my my free ebook here while we're talking. But yeah, I don't know. I don't see a problem. To me, Indicron was always Comicsgate, so I don't see the
it actually always was. It actually always was. And what I'm attempting to do is to address the issues where particular people are upset because Indicron is CG. Oh, gee, I'm sorry. But we've always been CG. We're still CG. We're always going to be CG.
Right.
That's it. As long as I'm around and I'm running it, I'm doing CG.
Yeah.
I'm CG. If I'm gone, then they can do whatever the bloody hell they want with it.
I'm also very proud to be Comicsgate as well. And I'm proud to be a part of this movement in the direction that it's going, specifically with you guys. I think a lot, we're mostly on the same page, with a lot of our ideology. And when I say ideology, I just mean about comic books, not politics. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
we're using the political stance, obviously, because it's empowering CG, obviously. I mean, if not, like I said, you'd be an indie book in the wind somewhere.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that overall, Comicsgate really is about overall free speech. Is probably one of the resounding important things about it, as well as
absolutely
doing better than the quote unquote pros who can't write worth a squat.
That's a great point. I mean, it's free speech. Everyone, I mean, I've heard the pros say this many times, that everyone is the leader. Everyone is the leader of CG. We're all leaders. I'm the leader. You're the leader. We're all leading CG. Yeah. Okay. Well, then in order for us all to be leaders, there literally has to be a CG to be a leader of.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or nothing then.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. To me, there's, I'm hoping that over time, actually, the more that they are shrieking about it, the more people we're going to get coming into Comicsgate. That's just been my experience looking around. There's a lot of people that are interested. They hear about it because of all these hit pieces, and people are becoming accustomed to the same kind of smear campaign.
So they're becoming desensitized to the whole thing, and they go, oh, well, I'm going to go look at it. And when they come here, they find great comics and they find happy people. All right.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Yeah.
I think we are a very vibrant, happy bunch. To be honest with you, at least that's what I see. I don't know.
I think we are, and I think you need to shape your experience. I'm sorry, time code. Go ahead.
I think that there needs to be a complete, and I heard earlier they were talking about this, the idea of how to talk to the so-called pros online. Well, my whole point is to just focus on the comics. It's like and I kind of agree with the artist formerly known as Diversity in Comics. Is that what we're calling him now?
Or just your boy Zach, yeah.
I kind of agree with the idea because I see what he's doing. I probably wouldn't have changed the name, but I see what he's doing, and it's a focus on the material. Because one of the ways they get us, and I understand this because sometimes when listening to the far left, you listen to what they're talking about, and you're sitting there, you're going, what you're saying doesn't make sense. You realize that's not how this works. This is not how these things go, but it doesn't matter. They're sitting there, and to the people that they're talking to, this is how life works. So you're trying to sit there and reason with someone who by right is not, the person is not reasonable. They're not reasonable. They're not being reasonable. Their whole point is to not be reasonable. They have a specific idea of what they want to push. And if you don't let them push that, if you don't co-sign on that, if you don't say, I'm part of this with you, then they say, okay, well, you're nothing then. We have every right to come after you no matter what you are doing, even if you're doing nothing wrong, but you are against us. And since you're against us, that makes you an enemy. Now, the best thing to do is to be that enemy that, just as they say, when people come in and they look at Comicsgate and they say, well, what is Comicsgate doing? They just see a bunch of people making comic books. So it makes the other side, makes anti-Comicsgate look really stupid because it makes them look like they're overreacting, which they are already overreacting.
Right, but the thing is, if they're going to put us in a category already, right? If they're jettisoning and throwing us out of the industry and they put us in a category to be hated because their agenda is to hate, that's purely their agenda, to hate and to destroy. Their act of creation is viewed as destruction. That's how they just create. So if they jettison us and we don't group, then they'll just pick us off as individuals, as they're doing, right?
This is true, but the question is, when we group, what is the main focus of our grouping? Because I think like last year before last, the main focus was, look how bad the comics pros are. Look how bad the industry is. And so since they're looking at how that was our thing, look how bad the industry is. If we turn it around and say, okay, we don't really care how bad the industry is. We're doing something over here. We're doing our own thing. So it becomes a situation where they're attacking us for something we're not doing. We're not bothering them. We don't care what they're doing.
Turn this around.
Exactly.
We need to turn it around so that we are the industry.
Exactly.
We become the industry. They're out of business.
Exactly. We're doing something so completely different. And it's not really different. It's just that we're doing our own creative thing. So people are coming to us. And in a few years, they're probably, we talked about this, I think me and Sweetcast and Comic Girl Ava in the Twitter chat, we talked about the fact that there probably aren't going to be a lot of comic book stores in, let's just say, the next 2 to 5 years. Maybe some of the bigger chains will still be around, but the small comic book shops are probably going to be gone. They're going to be gone the way of Borders. They're going to be gone the way of, I think what's the one bookstore that's like still around now? Is it,
Amazon? Amazon is still around.
That's the bookstore, but
Barnes and Noble's still around.
Barnes and Noble, and they're like their books and coffee shop and all. The fact of the matter is, comic book shops are going to be out of it. People are going to be getting their books from the internet, and so we should be preparing.
The point is, you have to look at the paradigm here. Okay, we are the new paradigm. The new paradigm is that you come to CG because people know CG because it's isolated from the major industry, in which we will slowly become the industry because we are creating and selling on the new paradigm, which is if someone sees my book, Fireball, by the way, someone sees my comic book and they go, hey, I like that guy. He sounds a bit queer, but I want to talk to him. And they can come and talk to me. They can come and talk to me right away. They can say, hey, Jean-Luc, I like your book. You know, what about this, this, and this? And I'll say, oh, that's very nice. And then look at my drawing and I'll look at it and I'll talk to them. This is the type of interaction with our consumers that represents Comicsgate. So when a consumer wants that type of interaction, right, they know where to go. If we're not on IndieCron and we're not CG, how do they know where to go? This is not necessarily a prolific thing over the entire internet at the moment, is it? It's growing, but
yeah, there's so much more ground to take. I really think that Comicsgate is still it's such a small thing, really, in the big space of the internet, that there's certainly more people to learn about it. And more people, I think, that they've read comics in the past. They want to come back to comics, especially if we're showing them. They get excited about a new direction. I think this is not about just putting out like this. Oh, this is a good time to put out some mini books. This is the time to build the industry. And it's going to take a lot of people doing
exactly
that.
It.
Dude, this is exactly what Zach's been doing from the beginning. So I see comments on his channel, and then, gosh, I get tons of them. I've been making videos on other topics that aren't comics related occasionally, and it brings in a ridiculous amount of new viewers. And I had someone just tell me yesterday on a comment, they were like, dude, I haven't read comics in years. And he's like, I actually am about to buy some of these books you're recommending, and I'm new back into the industry. And I say the majority of comments on Zach's page, like, I didn't even like comics before you, or I haven't bought a comic in 20 years or 10 years, and people are coming in droves to actually be a part of the industry again, where I think that the lack of diversity of perspectives in the industry has stifled growth, and it's left the entire industry impotent. And we are the cure for that. Comicsgate is the answer, in my opinion.
Yeah. Very, very good discussion. I'm gonna cut the stream off only because I've got kids that are starting to scream.
I bet. It's been long, hasn't it? Yeah.
But this has been really good, though. I'm kind of digging Saturday morning because it doesn't seem like I'm really competing with all these other streams, so it's kind of nice.
Because it's usually later on the night when everyone else is doing things.
Yeah. And for everyone, if you haven't noticed, I don't have a super chat. I still, even though I've reached all of the criteria to be monetized, I've still even waited the month that they tell you to wait. Still not monetized. So I'm gonna get something figured out. But in the meantime, the best way that you can support this channel is I put a link in the description below for an ebook. So it's a novel that I wrote. It's called All for Owen. I wrote it, published it in 2013. It's a young adult fiction. So you can download that for free. All I ask is that you enter your email address, and that's just so I can inform you about Downcast when it comes out. I'm just trying to make sure I'm measuring. I want to get 1,000 people on a mailing list before I even consider launching a campaign. I just want to make sure I've got momentum. So that would really help me out. Everybody.
Well, make sure you get on IndieCron as well.
Yes, no doubt. And everybody here has got something they want to pitch, right? Ava, why don't we start with you? You've got a channel.
Yeah, Comic Girl Ava, and I haven't done as much lately, but I am going to be working on it all day today and all day tomorrow to try to, get some videos made so I can actually start posting more frequently. Today I will be going over Craven's Last Hunt on Comic Girl Ava. It'll be like a comic book club where every Saturday I have a series of issues that we read and review and all talk about together. So
cool.
a live stream. So
issues. That's really fun content. You guys do a really nice stream too. I'm like, I need to be as good as you guys
it's gonna
do with
be on
live
back
stream.
issue comics, but I'm gonna start putting stuff on Comic Girl Ava, and because I'm
Cool.
now that I'm having a more mellow kind of way of approaching things, I'm just gonna put it all on there, and but the back issue comics, it's so awesome. I love it.
Cool. Gateway into comics.
Yes. So I have a channel. Of course, I'm just YouTube / Gateway into Comics. And you know, I focused a lot on writing in the beginning. I think I'm gonna start doing just one writing video a week, and then focus on commentary the rest of the time. I am not going to be launching my Indiegogo until the end of the year or the beginning of next year, because I'm taking my time. I'm revamping my script consistently, and I want to take my time finding the perfect artist. To be honest with you guys, it's really just I want to get my subscriber count up before I release. I'd love to be at maybe 4,000 or 5,000 before I actually release that book, because that'll put me in a place to where I'll definitely see good profits. But I love the characters I'm working with. I may not even use this script for my first project. It just depends on the artist that I find, because I have a few scripts that I'm working on right now. My favorite is about a kid, you know, but that's neither here nor there.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited to see when you're ready and when you come out with your book. I'm excited for it.
I'm excited for yours too, for sure.
So Luke, what do you got for us?
Oh boy, a few things here. Well, first of all, I've got 2 comics coming out very soon, Fireball and Hotbots, and I'm sure everyone's really going to enjoy those, because I really enjoy them as well. And of course, they'll be on Upcoming on Indiecron. Indiecron is pushing to pull together, you know, a lot of books from the CG community, and we're going to be putting it on Upcoming. That's going to be exposed, so to speak, on the 25th of this month.
Great. Awesome. Time code mechanics or mechanic?
My you're right at first. My channel is Time Code Mechanics, and right now I just redid our website for the comic books. It's Night Phoenix Press. That's my comic book company. So we have all the books up there. The older books and the newer books are coming soon, so you can do pre-orders for the Zombie Girl book and the upcoming Victor Locke Demon Hunter book. So I've been like paying attention to alternative comics, and I'm being very inspired by them. So a little bit of, you know, I've thrown a little bit of their kind of thing into the mix. So you can check it out. You know, you can order our stuff through Etsy and through eBay and everything. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm just getting my books together, and we're going to be pushing them out.
Great. And
on Indiecron as well.
Yes.
Yes. I'm going to actually look into Indiecron.
Submit.
So I'll definitely be doing that.
Very cool. Yes, everyone, thank you for watching. Smash like, because that helps. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to leave these live streams up forever, because they kill my channel and the algorithm. I want to grow, so I'll leave it up for probably maybe a day, and then I'm going to take them down. But the benefit here is then I want to try to do more live streams like this, so that'll be the upside. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, man.